everything we're doing is by email, and I believe this is the best way to get in touch with a navigator if you wanted to reach out to a navigator specifically. Our newest navigator is Robert Sutherland. I'm not sure if any of you had the opportunity to meet Jessica Dalton, but she's not with us any longer, and so Robert has assumed her caseload. He's coming from Abilene Christian University, and is a very skilled navigator, and we're happy to have him and can't wait for y'all to meet him. And here's his email address as well. And here's my email address. If you have program questions or just, general issues, or if there's somebody that you would like for us to meet with and talk to, feel free to reach out to any one of us. I think that I may be able to respond a little bit quicker than the navigators because they definitely have their works cut out for them. But here is my information. And so anyone that wants to is definitely able. Any questions? I didn't expect to go through that so quickly. Thank you to whoever started recording this.
So Courtney, I'm at the Northwest campus. What is the best way for me to contact someone to get them in with Catholic Charities?
The best way would be to advise them to go to our web application. Now, if it's somebody that you feel like needs a warmer experience or a little bit more of a hand-holding, you're welcome to reach out to me.
Okay.
I'll put you in contact with a navigator that can help them through that process, or I'll do it myself.
Okay, thank you, Courtney.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Well, thank you all for your time. You have my contact information. Please feel free to reach out anytime. And happy 2021. I'm hanging on because I see the typing dots. Okay, yes. Where am I located at Trinity River? That's a good question. On both Trinity River and Northwest Campus, we have been relocated. Currently, we're officing all from home. We can meet a student at the campus if they need us to, but I'm honestly a little unsure about where we will be situated because I think that some of the redesign measures may be rethought considering the pandemic, and open office areas I would assume is not COVID friendly, so I think there may be some more work being put into that. Okay, awesome. Reach out anytime. Have a great day. Thank you. I'm on because I see more dots. What can we do to help students? That's a great question. I think that, it really starts with identification. How are we going to identify students that may be disadvantaged or may need a little bit more assistance than other students? The way we do that currently is through the financial aid process. So we really need to be encouraging students to fill out their FAFSA forms because that's how they're identified for programs like this currently. I think that helping students understand that because they're awarded something doesn't necessarily mean that they have to accept it, because I know many students want to save that aid for maybe a 4-year institution. Also, If a student ever comes to you and starts indicating that, you know, they couldn't come to class because they have no child care, or they're having transportation issues, or they got evicted, or they're experiencing homelessness, I think that that would be just cause to refer them, well, not only to your care team, but to stay the course. You know, obviously we're not a replacement for the care team, and we don't double dip on funds, but I think it's just about being able to notice when there's a red flag. And we are happy to take walk-ins as we can currently. You're welcome to share our contact information with students. They don't have to go through you to reach us. And for students that need a little bit warmer of a situation, like I said, just let us know. We're happy to provide that. We also have some materials on campus I've sent via email. And if you're interested in flyers or something like that, that you can email your students, just shoot me an email and I'll shoot you a flyer right back. Are we able to take a practice TSI as instructors? I'm not sure I understand that question. Do you mean just to, so you kind of know what the TSI looks like to help the student know what to expect, or? I was responding to Lucia Ramirez. Oh, I'll wait for a response. I'll talk well, I don't think I can talk anymore. I think our time is done. Is it? What I'm going to do is hop off of here so that I can honor the time frames that you have set for other face-to-faces. And please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Thank y'all. Hello again. So more about the program and about your students. It's honestly very cut and dry, or at least when you dip into it. So stay the course and the overview that I provided is really broken down into two different avenues. So we have the case management aspect of it, which we don't say case management often, we say client navigation because it doesn't have the same stigma associated maybe as case management, and then the financial assistance piece. So each student receives service planning, so we'll set an academic goal, a financial goal, a personal goal. Particularly during times of like spring break and things like that, we encourage students to work on personal goals just for their holistic well-being because they'll be more likely to return. And the EFA, it works as though we're paying for non-academic expenses, like I said. And so after the students are identified, they go through an enrollment process where we confirm their eligibility based on the eligibility that I provided in the slide. And they begin working with a navigator immediately and are available to receive funds from us about the third or fourth time that they meet with us. So it's a pretty quick enrollment process compared to how it historically has been. Also, through that service, students are eligible for up to $500 each semester with a $1,500 cap. I think it can be watched as a recorded video. I think so. It was recorded. So $500 a semester with a cap of $1,500 over their lifetime participation in the program. So over the course of, 4 semesters or 3.5 years, however it pans out. And outside of that, I can say that recently we've been able to provide a lot more than that because Catholic Charities was awarded a lot of COVID funding. And so, in effect, we've been able to use COVID funding where applicable, and 9 times out of 10 it's applicable, and reserve their EFA funds for bigger, tougher issues. We have many clients, let me tell you about our students. We have many clients that are single parents. We have many clients that are non-traditional students, or maybe they've been in the workforce for a long time and they're looking to switch lanes because they don't feel like they're being paid enough to live on, and they'd like something more rewarding in their lives. And I think that overall, historically, we don't serve very many male participants. We're not sure why that is, but it's a fact in our program. And so the COVID funding that's been made available to our students, which is not, on a poster anywhere, but we've been doing up to $1,200 in COVID funding per student. We also helped, I think it was 57 students across all 5 campuses receive Angel Tree gifts this year. We provided about 27 students across all campuses Thanksgiving assistance in the way of food baskets, and our navigators actually delivered those baskets and those gifts to their homes. We just have access to so much, and there are odd and end things that students need that we don't always consider. With all of us being forced back home, we need to have a designated workspace, right? Especially as parents, which many students are. And so we've even worked out to where we can access donated desks or donated furniture. As many of you are aware, sometimes students will get, it's happened more at Northwest that we've been aware of, but we've worked with people that have just been devastated by bed bugs and they don't have any furniture to get rid of all of it, and so we're able to work out something, for instance, with Mattress Firm, and they were able to donate some mattresses. And so there's this continuation of, community development so we can develop those relationships and piece together these resources in a way that it supports the student through their TCC journey. And that's really what it's about. Our navigators meet our students where they're at. Even though we're not a mental health program, we do a lot of counseling referrals. We do a lot of listening. And sometimes it happens that students are reluctant to reach out to a counselor because they feel like, well, they can just talk to their navigator. And while we enjoy that, we do prefer to lend on the experts. But it's truly about just getting in where you fit in, developing rapport with the student, helping them walk the line of education. They need something and they don't know where to go for it. Okay, well, it sounds like this is a need for the business office. You need a parking placard. That's going to be a challenge for you if you don't know where to park to get to class. Things like that. And it's difficult to think of all of the things that we had to wrap our minds around when we entered college and how we had to navigate it. And I know I've often thought to myself, I feel like I needed stay the course. I'm actually a TCC alumni. I went to South Campus for my associates and then went on to UNT for my full bachelor's. And it's just something that many students, when they come to us, are surprised that's even offered, that there's somebody on campus available to not hold your hand, but we're going to walk with you. You know, we're going to walk with you over here, or we're going to make this phone call together, particularly if it's a financial aid question, we're calling together, because that's going to help us determine, well, I think it's harder when someone has advocacy to turn them away. And so that's what we are, we're the students' advocates. I'm at Northwest Campus and Trinity River. What else can I say? What else would y'all like to know? I can tell you that right now, what we're working on, one of the things that the navigators do is credit audits, which institutions say degree audits, I believe. But we actually track credits started and credits completed. And so we're really measuring everything. We're affirming every time they go to the transfer center. If they said, you know, I'm kind of interested in UNT, but I don't know what scholarships are available, please go to the transfer center. We're going to walk you there, or we're going to help you call them right now. You know, or we had a student, this comes up over and over, that, you know, when you start a family, it throws things off track. It's difficult to stay on track when you have a new family. And we had one student that we were working with, and she was saying, no, I really just feel like I need to take a break. I just, you know, I have a baby and my husband works nights, and I mean, just all of these challenges. And we got her to the transfer center and they said, listen, if you can just enroll in one class, you know, it's not going to help financial aid wise because that's not going to be covered, but stay the course can come out of pocket for your rent if you can just cover the cost of this on your own. And she was able to enroll in just one class. So to me, enrolling in just one class is so much better than taking a break, because when people take breaks, they don't always come back. Do you help them with choosing a degree or a career they would like? That's a great question. I think that a little bit earlier on in our program design and our program description, we wanted to tie in career and vocational services where we could, and we learned a few things from that. We learned that we're not the expert. I'll always go back to that. We're not the expert on campus regarding that. What we want to do is honor their MyPlan or whatever instrument they used. But if a student comes to us and they said, you know, this is the result of my plan, and I don't understand this. I don't think that this is really for me. We can absolutely, you know, go with them to the Career Center on campus, or we can call the Career Center on campus, develop an appointment, or we want to walk alongside the experts to get the students where they need to go. That being said, we do have an internal career and vocation service department, and it's auxiliary to all other long-term services at the agency. And so they do have their own assessments that they can use to help gauge, you know, someone's interest and aptitude in any given career field. For us, though, it's going to be very heavily focused on living wage employment wherever they end up going. And so if somebody comes to us and says, I want to be a program supervisor for a nonprofit agency, what degree do I need, and you know, what am I going to be making once I get into that? And we're going to help them understand what they're going to be making, maybe what the average student loan debt is going to be at that point in time, how long it's going to take for them to recover from that, careers in that field. So our career and vocation services team can go into all of that. We, as a case management team, do not necessarily implement that on our own. We work alongside the career center on campus and or our own career and vocation service, auxiliary service at the agency. I hope that was understandable. Good. Okay. What other questions can I answer? While you're thinking of questions to ask, many of you probably recall that when this program was first implemented on Trinity River, that it was part of a research effort. And so what felt good about the research is that we were gathering important data. What didn't feel good about the research is that there was a 50-50 acceptance rate into the program. And if they weren't accepted into the program, then they were enrolled into a control group that was monitored against the progress of those receiving the intervention, being stay the course, receiving the service. And so we honestly, well, and obviously, that was a big hit to our enrollment numbers. I mean, if we're only getting 50-50 and everybody's going into the control group and being monitored, then we're not ever totally full. And so that didn't feel good because we have the capacity and we want to help as many students as we can. Well, I believe it's 2 or 3 semesters ago now, the research with LEO, Notre Dame Lab for Economic Opportunity, that was discontinued. And so now we have a 100% acceptance rate for eligible students. And going into spring, we're going to have about 20, 25 slots available total, but the plan is still to hire with demand for the program. And we have other navigators on other campuses. And it's almost as though we could implement a virtual caseload at this point because we're all working virtually. And so it wouldn't necessarily matter totally that they were assigned to a navigator on any of the other campuses. And so we're very flexible in that way. So when I say we have 25 slots for next semester, that's just to start with. If interest shows that we have more students that need to be screened for service, we're going to make it happen, and we do have the capacity for that. We're also looking forward to getting involved with TRIO as that unfolds on campus, and working with other departments that have already identified students that may need additional support. And so we're not a catch-all, but we do have a pretty high completion rate. I believe it's 9 out of 10 students that participate with us do end up getting their associates or a certificate. And we can also work with students that are getting stackable certificates, or sometimes they're in a certificate program and decide to cross over into an associate's. And so we work with those students too. As you're all aware, each campus has its own sort of specialty area that they offer. On Northwest, we have aviation, we have the fire school, police school, Peace Corps program, and then we have a lot of medical students at Trinity River. And so that's the majority of students that we work with, or maybe people that are working their way into the nursing program or that are in the nursing program. And those needs of those students are totally different. And so it's, I think, telling in our efforts that we're able to accommodate each campus with those given subset areas and still have the completion rate that we do. And so we're very proud of that. Last year, for 2020 year, we were awarded Community Partner of the Year at Northwest Campus. And I entered Trinity River Campus right as the pandemic had happened, and the previous supervisor was folded into a different program and accepted that position. And so I would like to be more integrated on Trinity River, however that means. So if anybody wants us to pop in and do a small presentation or a promo thing or connect with a student on any level, we're available for that. And we love doing presentations. So invite us. Sometimes we do invite ourselves places too, that happens. Well, a lot. Are there any other questions? Do we receive private funding? Yes, we do. Totally private funding. Well, sometimes we receive grant funding. Right now, a lot of our grant funding is COVID funding, but most of our funding at CCFW and for all of the programs is made through private donors. And so we have a large base of donors that we work with for small asks and big asks, and sometimes donors will give us money for certain things. When this first started happening and we weren't sure if campuses were going to offer some level of a technology assistance program, which I know there is now, but a donor came and was able to provide us with a bunch of refurbished laptops, and I believe we distributed about 15 across the campuses. So that's an example of that. Well, you can contact me for the presentations if you want to, but you have the other email addresses. You can choose your favorite. Okay. I think we're live. It did start over. I came back on. It is weird. Does anybody else have some questions I can answer? Oh, thanks. Good. You get to see me blush on live virtual presentation now. I appreciate all the fandom I'm developing through this. I'm sorry for the weirdness. I wasn't sure how long I was supposed to go, and I'm not a very long-winded person. Okay, so unless I see some more dots. Or should I just stay on until 3:15? How many do we have in our offices? 0, because we don't have offices right now. Before our move, we had about, let me see, at Trinity River, we were in the advising area in cubicles, which I really like that layout. You know, due to the work that we're doing, we need a level of privacy. Not everything we do is super hush-hush with a client, but at the same time, if there are sensitive needs that need to be discussed, we've been able to find private areas on campus for that. And sometimes we work with students that, can't meet with us on campus at all. So maybe we meet them at, McDonald's where there's a playground. Not so much lately, but we've done that. In our main office, the main office right now is manned by a skeleton crew. So it's Catholic Charities right now, as an agency in the building, is just closed unless it's by appointment only. The agency did roll out a short-term case management department, which is, community cares department, which is really the agency's intake door. And that phone number I can send out or get real quick while we're on. But there are no walk-ins at Catholic Charities anymore, which is unusual for us because we've always taken walk-ins, but there's just it's not safe to do so right now, so it's not happening. But the main office is huge. I mean, there are a few hundred people in it prior to this. Do you think we'll reopen after COVID? Oh yeah, for sure. Catholic Charities wants to be open. In terms of being back on campus, we're just we're following TCC's lead. So when TCC decides to start filling offices again, we'll come along with that effort. What do I believe is the most important and helpful thing that you all do? That's a really good question. I believe with a lot of fervor that the most important thing that we do is walk alongside the students. I think that when people hear case management, they think of somebody that comes into your home to check on the well-being of your kids and maybe scold you for having dishes in the sink. That's not what's happening here. We proceed without judgment. We meet them where they're at, and that means if they need us to listen first before we begin service planning, then that's what we do. If we need to assess and help prioritize, their challenges and barriers, then that's what we do. But I believe the most important work happens with relationship development. And so some of the students that we work with don't have a support system, or the support system they have is toxic, or the support system they have is failing for whatever reason, or it's strained. I think that us being flexible to meet the student as they are, where they are, without judgment, and proceed to problem solving and to lend an ear. We're not necessarily friends, but we are collaborators. We are partners in this journey. There's no hierarchy. It's not case manager, client. No, we're hand in hand. We're walking this together. So I believe that's the most important thing we do. Okay, Ms. Jeanette, I sure will. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting ready to put out some form of a newsletter where we're highlighting a lot of the successes that we've experienced in the last year. And I think it'll be really, really good. I really can't say enough about the things that we do and the people that we've served and the amazing breakthroughs that have happened just from persistence, shared persistence. But yeah, we're proud of what we do, and we're always looking for more people to serve. Also new at the agency, while Patrick is typing, this year we now have other auxiliary services that kind of help us through referral at the agency. So we have a transportation department, we have a housing department, and we have a child care department. And all three have specialists in those areas that are helping us round out unique needs of students and also helping us search for alternative forms of funding so that we can use their EFA a little bit more strategically. And so that's been very exciting. We actually have some child care funds, which, right now to develop relationships with child care providers is extremely difficult, but our specialist has been able to do that. She also has a liaison with CCMS, and so she monitors the wait list. And there have been a couple times when it kind of looked like things were going to take a little bit of a left turn with getting somebody child care, but she swooped in and advocated and was able to round it out for us. And so that's been highly successful. Our transportation department, do we want to pay $500 in one semester to replace a transmission on an 88 Cutlass? Probably not. So maybe that person should be referred to the transportation department so we can help them get out of that title loan or whatever is going on so that they can get a safe vehicle that's affordable, that works for them, that can get them to A to B, and they can continue to meet their goals. Those sorts of things. Does the financial funding help you offer more from federal or local? I think that right now we're spending more federal money than local money, if that answers that question, because we've been able to use a lot of our federal grants instead of the financial assistance we offer through the program. There are also some housing funds that are federally granted that we've received. And in fact, we've been able to help, I think, about 4 students on Northwest and Trinity River total get into houses. They've been able to do up to, well, I don't want to say their cap because I really am not sure anymore, but they were able to pay their down payment on their homes to get these folks into a more reliable situation, so they weren't paying an enormous amount of rent. We also have relationships with other lenders that offer character-based lending, which is really hard to find. Okay, and do you have any more difficulty with one or than the other that you can mention? You know, I always say it's best not to know how the sausage is made. I don't really have to personally decide where the funding comes from. I do work with a triage of individuals that help us strategize these funds to put them to the best work possible and to maximize those funds. But I think that doing paperwork for funding is always kind of a bummer, but not for the student. The student only sees, hey, Catholic Charities was able to pick this up for us. What was the third fund? There are a lot of funds. Primarily and only associated with State of Course is the emergency financial assistance. That's what we advertise because these other funds do not reliably come in. Yes, we get them throughout the year, but we're not necessarily sure when they're going to happen, how they're going to be budgeted, where they're going to be allotted. And so we have to wait for feedback from our advancement team that houses most of those funding issues. You probably mentioned already, but what is the best way to get a needy student to you? No problem. You can offer them our web application, or you can reach out to the you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to the navigators via email. I do believe is best. Also, because we're in and out of appointments all day, so if you call us, it may not be as effective as just waiting for an email response. And identifying, you know, what is needy. So you can show them the web app, or you can refer them to us and we'll help them with the web app. Sure. Some students right out of high school, they're not worried about that web application, but they may not understand all of the questions. I know one of the questions is, do you plan on graduating or transferring at the end of next semester? That's a really verbally loaded and not very clear question that some students don't know how to answer. Or maybe you're talking to somebody that doesn't have very strong computer skills, which is not that great right now. It's not good timing for that, but we're happy to help that student. Also, when a student submits applications on the web, they go directly to the campus supervisors. And so it takes a matter of seconds for us to receive them when they're submitted, and we will respond within 2 business days. But also, there's a chance that some of these needy students are going to be herded towards us starting next week. Not all of them, because I mean, there's no way to capture everybody that needs assistance. However, TCC is sending out a promo email blast with our web application link in it next week, and it's going to go to all Pell eligible and TPEG eligible students as identified through financial aid. So if they didn't fill out a FAFSA, we're not capturing them unless they come to us. And right now we don't have a mechanism for verifying income eligibility with anything other than an award letter. We think that we'll be able to open that up and be able to income verify in the next coming semesters. Is there a video or YouTube vid that it highlights and gives examples? Is there a limit to your funding? is it first come, first served till the funds run out. I do have a promo video that we've recently lost permissions to somehow, and it's at IT getting fixed. I think that before I answer, is there a limit to funding, I should say that only students who are enrolled, and this is considered a long-term program, are eligible for emergency financial assistance. The emergency financial assistance that's associated with stay the course has a $1,500 cap, and it's dispersed in $500 increments per semester upon application. So there's a limit on the one that's specifically associated with stay the course. Now, any other funding that comes from the agency or that donors provide or that we're granted, we will always consider those other funding options, but they are not necessarily, we would not necessarily give a student an option. Do you want to take this out of housing funds, transportation funds, or stay the course funds? It's not going to work that way. There is a prioritized order in which funding needs to be spent because we've made commitments to our donors, and we have an MOU that we have to obtain and implementation guidelines for the program. But I will say there's truly never been a time when we could not help somebody to the extent that they needed it because we're able to work something out.